This is where I think we probably should get into a specific thing. We're going back into topic mode because we need to specifically talk now about this bill right here. Not just this bill, but this is one of them. Of course it is Texas, but we can't just make fun of Texas because laws that are enacted in Georgia get enacted in Texas later via copycat bills. They happen in Texas and then come over here. Then they go to Florida. Then they go to Alabama. Basically, the entire Bible Belt, if an anti-minority law passes in one state in the Bible Belt, a copycat law will be enacted to go elsewhere, as evidenced by the Don't Say Gay bill being pushed in Florida and, of course, being adopted into multiple states afterwards, after it succeeded. Now, this bill says, this is HB 3817, related to creating the criminal offense of gender identity fraud, be it enacted by the state legislature of the state of Texas, Section 1, Subchapter D, Chapter 32, Penal Code, is amended by adding Section 32.515 to read as follows. Gender identity fraud. A person commits an offense if the person knowingly makes a false or misleading verbal or written statement to a governmental entity or the person's employer by identifying the person's biological sex as the opposite of the biological sex assigned to the person at birth. And B, an offense under this section is a state jail felony. This act takes effect September 1st, 2025. CBS had some stuff to say about this one. A Texas lawmaker filed a bill Wednesday that would make gender identity fraud a criminal offense. Representative Tom Oliverson, who represents part of Harris County, authored HB 3817. Hey, remember when I said that you can write bills your fucking self and you can propose them to your state legislature when you get in contact with them, either by being part of a group that you've gone with people on Facebook or Mobilizer or the DSA, any number of those people, when you've gotten into one of those groups and you can author a bill yourself and hand it to your state legislature to propose? This is all that was written for this bill. When I said this was the equivalent of a third grade reading assignment, I got a bunch of comments saying that that was not the case. I would like to point to this and say, fuck off. It is 100% the case that anybody with a quarter of a brain cell functioning can write a bill in the United States. Representative Tom Oliverson, who represents part of Harris County, authored Bill HB 3817. The proposed law, if passed, would make it illegal for a person who presents as an opposite gender than the one assigned to them at birth to identify as the opposite to their employer or a governmental agency. The bill defines this as identity fraud. The bill also seeks to make this offense a jail felony. This means if found guilty, the person could face 180 days to 2 years in a state jail facility and up to a $10,000 fine. If approved by both the House and Senate and signed by Greg Abbott, the bill would go into effect September 1st, 2025. It does not matter if the bill passes. All that matters is that this is on the lips of legislatures. This means that this is something that they are willing to push for. I do not need to go for any other evidence right now that we have states in the U.S. that are willing to actively participate in the genocide of trans people, but I am willing. I am 100% willing to go get another bill, if you would like, proposed by another politician. Let's read this one. This is HB 3399. A bill to be entitled an act relating to the provision of procedures and treatments for gender transitioning, gender reassignment, or gender dysphoria, and the use of public money or public assistance to provide those procedures or treatments, be it enacted by the state legislature of the state of Texas, the heading to Subchapter X, Chapter 161, Health and Safety Code, as added by Chapter 335, SB 14, Acts of the 88th Legislature, Regular Section 2023, is amended to read as follows. Gender transitioning and gender reassignment procedures and treatments, and it notes here that it says for certain children, and it is crossed out. Would you like to know why that is? Because every single person who ever hid behind the argument that these anti-trans bills are supposed to protect kids was a fucking moron. Every single one of you. All of you. Every single one who in my comment section or in my real life, and you know who you are, decided to argue that against me, you are incorrect. Because Republicans are willing to amend their own bills to say, actually, no. Actually, no. We're not aiming this just to protect children. We are aiming this at all the trans people. It does not matter what you think anymore on this topic. Because I have evidence right here, and I am backed by it. Section 2, sections, tons of numbers. Health and Safety Code is added by Chapter 335. Healthcare provider means a person other than a physician who is licensed, certified, or otherwise authorized by the state's laws. Medicaid means medical assistance. Physician means a person licensed. This is the usual legalese. Now, the original version of this said that a surgery that sterilizes someone, castration, vasectomy, hysterectomy, etc., were what they would talk about, but instead, they cut out child here, and it is now just, we're going to be banning this if this is done to people. No vaginoplasty, no phalloplasty, no orchiectomy, which is when they remove the testicles, by the way. No mastectomies, getting rid of the boobies. No providing, prescribing, administering, or dispensing any of the following prescription drugs that induce a transient or permanent infertility, like puberty suppression or blocking prescriptions to stop or delay normal puberty. No doses of testosterone. No doses of estrogen. Remove nothing that would remove any otherwise healthy or non-diseased part of the tissue. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make the argument that if you have gender dysphoria and your tissue, your breasts, your penis, whatever part of you is causing the gender dysphoria is actively causing harm to you, it is not an otherwise healthy bit of you. It is effectively no different than a tumor, as far as your brain is concerned. And no amount of medication or therapy changes that, as evidenced by the myriad of times that we have tried to use therapy to untrans people or ungay them. This is not a bill to ban this on minors. It started as one. It is not one anymore. It is now a bill to stop this for anyone. And if any of you on the left want to go, well, it doesn't account for blah, 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 weird thing that can happen with sex. It points out a whole bunch of different provisions here about people with ovarian testicular tissue, people who have XY chromosomes and XX chromosomes, but have these other traits that would be considered part of the other sex. It takes into account all of that. You know why it takes into account all of that? Because none of those gotchas about intersex people ever fucking worked. Those gotchas about intersex people were always used to demonstrate that these people had no idea what they were talking about. All they did was go to the books and go, oh shit, those are all the other people we need to be discriminating against. And so now they're included in their bills of people that they want to be able to discriminate against. I love all the areas where they've changed child to person, because it was never about protecting kids. They said it was about protecting kids to sell it to you, and you were gullible enough to buy it. And now here we are. Briar Saturn says, are we fucked? No, we're not fucked. We are not fucked. Here's the reason we're not fucked. We are not fucked because we still have plenty of things we can do. The existence of these bills means that lawmakers are still there to fucking write them. And where there are lawmakers to write, there is you writing to your lawmakers. There is you actively using resistbot and 5 calls to borderline harass your lawmakers and get your friends and family to harass your lawmakers to the point where they become completely fucking useless. And you can do this at their place of employment. In fact, I encourage you to do this at their place of employment. If you have the ability to go to the U.S. Capitol, that's where you do it. If you have the ability to go to your capital, then you can do it there too. You are not fucked as long as you can harass a politician. You are not fucked as long as you can put a different politician up to fight them. And you can do that by getting involved with your Democratic or your DSA chapters and helping canvass for, helping get involved with the election of, or even becoming one of the politicians that are going to take a Republican seat out from under them. These people who propose these fucking bills all the damn time, you can take their job. You can argue against them and say that you vote in the primaries to threaten their job while they have it, and then you can help somebody else fight for their job to take it away from them, or you can be the person that your chapter puts in front to fight as well. If you are passionate enough about human rights, and you can get up on a stage and talk to a group of people, best if you can make them laugh, you've already got all the tools you need to do this. You have every tool you need to do this. And obviously, we can still protest. That is something that we can do too. But protesting doesn't do anything. Protesting just puts a bunch of people together so that they can have a moment of shared grief, so that they know who their neighbors are, so that they know who to volunteer with when they get down and dirty in the weeds about doing what politics is all about. We are not fucked. We are in the muck of this, but it does not mean we're fucked. We are fucked when this succeeds, and this cannot fully succeed if we are actively fighting against it. And we have plenty of tools at our disposal to actively fight against it. If you want to be a doomer, that is equivalent to wanting to be useless. Your goal is not to be doom and gloom. Your goal is not to watch this video and go, I'm so scared of what's going to happen. Your goal is to watch this video and go, oh shit, things are bad. It's time for me to do something about this. It's time for me to get involved with my local politics. It is time for me to start taking away the power from the limp-dicked and useless Democrats that did not do their jobs leading up to this election. And it is time to start taking the jobs away from the Republicans that are actively trying to take away your human rights. Lemon and Leaves says, it's hard not to be when you're quite disabled. Lemon and Leaves, I did an interview with the person who used to be the councilman of Douglas County, Georgia. He did a lot of work for Douglas County. He was blind, and he had to be led everywhere. He was 100% disabled, and he was old as shit. He won multiple times in Douglas County and continued fighting for people. Disability is an obstacle. It is not an obstacle that has not been overcome by people in the past. And if you are not able to do certain things, there are certainly other things that you have the ability to do. You have the ability to harass your politicians. You have the ability to phone bank during a canvassing time. There are all kinds of things you can do as well. Undead Rodent says, what if I'm legitimately terrified to leave my house because people go missing or murdered here? I've already said in previous videos that I believe that right now everybody on the left needs to have a gun. Use the buddy system, get a weapon. Those are the two things you can do. Get a friend near you who is willing to be out with you, and make sure that you are both armed. Don't become a statistic. That's how you handle that. I grew up in a ghetto, and those are the things you had to do where I lived. You either knew a lot of people, or you had a buddy. Undead Rodentart says, I'm too unstable for a gun. I can try knives. Knife is not going to work. You want mace, and you want a taser. A knife requires you to be very close and have a modicum of skill, and be willing to deal with somebody else's knife. If the only weapon you can be safe with is a taser, then you get yourself a taser. The people who mean you harm will not listen to your words. But that's all I've got for you here. This is where I have to do the usual, hey, if you want something separate from this that is not going to be as stressful, I have a Magic the Gathering channel, youtube.com/@SurisMTG. Support me directly on Patreon and over at Fourth Wall if you want or can. Please consider supporting the channel by subscribing, and also, obviously, we are live right now. So please check out my live stream. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here,
why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.